Next now is some important theory related to again the sums which are like I have been telling you key shares issued for cash and public subscription. Okay. So these things are going to be important. These terms are important, very, very important. The first term you can see on the screen is like calls in arrears account, right? Calls in arrears kya hota hai? Calls in arrears is something like the amount which the company has not received after making a call. Okay, you will be having the numericals wherein like we will find that the shareholders are there after paying the basic amount of application. They are not interested to pay any amount thereafter. Allotment pay nahi karna, first call pay nahi karna, second call pay nahi karna. ठीक है? So the amount which is not received by the company, amount which is not received by the company after making a call, right? So that is known as calls in arrears. Okay, आउटस्टैंडिंग अमाउंट. एरियस मतलब आउटस्टैंडिंग होता है, तो कॉल्स जो आउटस्टैंडिंग में रह गए तो दैट इज कॉल्स इन एरियस अकाउंट. नाउ पॉइंट इज हाउ आर यू गोइंग टू डील विद दिस अकाउंट. लाइक पैसा बाकी रह गया ना, सो इट इज ऑलवेज एन ऑप्शन विद द स्टूडेंट्स कि क्या करना है, कि whether they want to open the calls in areas account or they don't want to open the calls in areas account, right? Both the things are acceptable. When you have to do the entry without opening calls in areas account, जो मैं पहले बहुत ज़्यादा follow करता था, say for example the first call entry, so you can see there कि share first call due, तो share first call account debited to share capital is the entry, right? And when you receive the call, the bank to share first call. But when you write the amount over here, bank to share first call, you have to make sure like you deduct the amount of calls in areas, because over here you are going to write full amount called up. What are the total amount is called up, and from the total amount called up, we have to deduct the areas amount and write the net amount over here. Net amount, net of calls in areas. Let me write this over here. Okay. Net amount received by company. Okay. Net amount received by company मतलब वही हुआ कि like what are the call has been made. कॉल जितना भी, सपोज 1 लाख का कॉल है एंड मोहन के पास शेयर्स है, मोहन हैज नॉट पेड इज 2000, सो 1 लाख माइनस 2 दैट इज 98, तो 98,000 डायरेक्टली लिखेंगे बैंक टू शेयर फर्स्ट कॉल. बट इफ यू हैव टू ओपन कॉल्स इन एरियस अकाउंट, तो फर्स्ट कॉल का एंट्री में तो कोई डिफरेंस नहीं आएगा, शेयर फर्स्ट कॉल टू शेयर कैपिटल दैट रिमेन्स सेम. बट देन ऑन रिसिप्ट ऑफ द मनी, सो बैंक अकाउंट डेबिट, कॉल्स इन एरियस अकाउंट डेबिट टू शेयर फर्स्ट कॉल. ठीक है, यू हैव टू गो फॉर जस्ट वन थिंग. यू कैन नॉट, मतलब वो हाफ ऑफ नहीं कर सकते, किसी में कॉल सीनियर्स लिखा किसी में नहीं लिखा, यू कैन नॉट डू दैट. any of the sum, you have to go and apply just one method. Now earlier what I used to do is कि I used to go with this only. Okay, 3 years 4 years back मैं यही करता था. Okay, but what board people did is like कि they asked the sum of share capital, wherein like they clearly mentioned कि by opening calls in areas account, journalize the transaction by opening calls in areas account. So since 4 years now almost, I have been teaching this way only. I have been opening calls in areas account. Okay, wherever the amount is not paid by the shareholders, calls in areas account needs to be open. We show the unpaid amount over here, amount received over here, and the total amount to share first call, right? So we are going to follow this. Okay, both the way it is correct, there is no problem at all, both the way. But in boards now it has been a practice to open the calls in areas account, so let us do it, right? Okay, now debit balance of a calls in areas kahan show karenge, to this is well known to us because we are done with the financial statements. So calls in areas jo rehta hai, to that is to be shown in notes to accounts. ये sums करेंगे हम लोग by the end of the chapter. Notes to accounts जो रहते हैं, तो they are the additional working for the balance sheet and statement of P&L. It is shown by way of deduction from subscribed but not fully paid capital. ठीक है, नोट्स टू अकाउंट्स में जाके सब्सक्राइब बट नॉट फुली पेड अप कैपिटल होता है, तो वहां जाके इसको माइनस करना है, डिडक्ट करना है, कॉल्स इन एरियस. ओके, nowhere it is to be shown in the balance sheet, but notes to accounts में, working notes में, by way of deduction we are going to show this. Remember, this will be very important towards the end of the chapter when we do finally 5 to 7 sums करेंगे, तो उसमें ये आएगा ही आएगा. नेक्स्ट टर्म इज कॉल्स इन एडवांस. नाउ अगर हमें एडवांस मिलता है तो इट्स अ लायबिलिटी होगा, तो उसका क्रेडिट बैलेंस होगा, राइट? नाउ कॉल्स इन एडवांस होता क्या है कि लाइक व्हेन द कंपनी हैज नॉट मेड अ कॉल बट द शेयर होल्डर्स फील लाइक कि लेट अस पे द अमाउंट इन फुल, So if any shareholder has paid the amount to the company before the company has made any call, so yes, that is known as calls in advance. Okay. uh, for calls in advance we don't have any option, like just say calls in areas के लिए था कि it is up to us कि whether to open the account or not, right? But for calls in advance we need to open the account and that has to be credited, right? Because it's a liability. Okay, so being a liability इसको कहाँ show करेंगे? तो it's a current liability and has to be shown under the head other current liabilities, right? And please remember कि when the amount is received in advance, so we need to credit it, and when we need to adjust this amount of advance, adjust भी करना पड़ेगा ना, दिखाना पड़ेगा ना advance दिया है तो when we adjust it, we need to debit it, right? ये देख रहे हो आप, when the amount is received in advance, so bank to calls in advance, it can happen along with allotment, along with first call, कहीं भी आ सकता है allotment और first call में ही basically, right? तो allotment के time पे it may be told to you कि the amount has been paid in advance for first call and second call, तो bank to allotment to calls in advance लिख देंगे, and when you have to adjust it, तो एडजस्ट भी बैंक के साथ ही करेंगे, तो बैंक टू कॉल्स इन एडवांस टू शेयर फर्स्ट कॉल या फाइनल कॉल जो भी होगा. So you can just make, you have to remember this at the time of receipt of money in advance, the calls in advance has to be credited, and at the time of adjusting, it has to be debited. ये vice versa करके like account close हो जाएगा, right? Now, what is the difference between ये basic meaning में बताया? Okay, so this interest point of view, yes, is very important. Interest is charged on calls in areas. Amount is not paid by the shareholder, so company has a right to charge interest on that. And if any advance has been received, so we need to pay as a company. We need to pay, and it's an expense for the company, right? Rate of interest क्या रहता है? तो rate of interest as per table F, right? 2013 Act में, it is 10% on calls in areas, and calls in advance pay 12%. Disclosure and balance sheet. Calls in areas, I told you, like it will be shown by way of deduction in notes to accounts and from subscribed but not fully paid up capital. And calls in advance is a current liability, and current liability may other current liability may it has to be shown.